IVM.
Hey Shiladitya, we got a new sponsor on our show this week.
Yes, and it's an awesome sponsor.
It is one of the best sponsors.
It's a great brand. It's been one of my favorite brands since I was a kid. I've seen it growing up, literally.
Yes, I know. I'm not going to try and sing the theme song, but they got an iconic theme song. We're talking about none other but Intel.
Wow.
Yeah, do you
I can't believe Intel is sponsoring our show.
It's actually kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
So are you aware of Intel vPro? Have you heard of this platform before?
I have heard of it, but I am actually not sure what it is.
So it's a business platform that ensures your business has the best combination of hardware and software. It maximizes your team productivity and ensures the security of your systems. I know that sounds like a convoluted way of saying that it just makes sure that your computers are awesome.
Yeah, which is actually what it should be, right? And yes. I think it's a lot more important for, people today because you get PCs everywhere. You get all kinds of brands and laptops and configurations. Intel, of course, is at the heart of most of these systems, but Intel as a platform ensuring that you have the best combination of hardware and software, I think is a big step in making sure you have the right tools for your business.
It's great, right? I mean, I know that nothing is more frustrating to me. I mean, so we work in media, right? So big files every day, gigabyte long files. And when the file takes 30 seconds to open, it's just like, let me go have a cup of tea and come back. And there's nothing more frustrating than that, right?
I can imagine. And that must be the case with a lot of businesses if you don't have the right kind of hardware and software put together.
And one of the key things about this vPro platform is the 8th generation vPro processor. This processor is much faster on both mobile and PC platforms.
Wow. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a really great platform. And I'll tell you what, why don't you guys go to intel.in/vpro. That's intel.in/vpro. And you can learn how this can help your business get more productive.
Absolutely. And we'll, of course, be talking more about it as the shows go along. All right. Welcome to Shunya One, episode 103. This is continuing my conversations in Sweden while I was with a bunch of entrepreneurs from Stockholm. And of course, today we're talking to Ola, who is the founder of a company called Hygglo. A very interesting conversation, of course. And again, with someone who is based in Stockholm, building something for that market, which is actually a sharing economy app. And it's an app which I thought was really interesting because it goes against the grain of, every other app which is trying to sell you something and says, which says buy more stuff and buy more stuff. While here is a founder who's actually done that before and now is coming in to tell you that, we've bought enough stuff. Maybe we should share some and reuse it. So I think that was a very interesting conversation. And of course, again, bear with me as I learn how to use try to get the best sound in a public space, because that's where this interview was held. But I think we had a good conversation, and this should be very interesting. So on with the show. Ola, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the Shunya One podcast. How's it going?
Great.
For everyone listening in, could you give us a little background about yourself and your startup journey so far? And of course, what is Hygglo?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So my name is Ola Degerfors. I'm a Swedish entrepreneur. I have founded 2 companies. The first one, I was a part of it for 14 years. So started off pretty early. It was an e-commerce business with mainly magazines. And 3 years ago, I founded Hygglo with 2 other founders. We're a sharing platform where people share stuff with each other. It could be anything from tools to gardening equipment or electronics or mics for a pod interview, maybe.
Wow. Okay. And you were doing another platform, e-commerce platform for a long time. 14 years.
I think I'm consistent.
That's quite a long journey for the startup. And what was it called? How did it scale?
It was called Tidningskungen. It was an e-commerce or a marketplace for magazine subscriptions, and it was pretty early days for e-commerce. We founded it in 2001. Didn't have any investors, or we were pretty young, 22 years of age, just trying to figure out how it should work. And we both were. I founded with another friend, and we both were a part of it for 14 years, and it became part of a bigger media group here in Sweden.
Wow. And what during this entire time, and of course leading up to the founding of Hygglo, what was your, how did you see, the coming years of your journey? Like, was it challenging? Was it high growth all the time? Was it, because 14 years is actually, in the internet years is a long time.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Multiple phases of the internet you must have seen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I don't think you can plan for 14 years.
Yeah.
So maybe you could see 3 to 5 years ahead, or not see, but you could commit to that type of journey, 3 years or 5 years journey. But 14 years, that's just overwhelming or too long. So I think it was all along there were challenges, and that made it fun. And that's the main reason I think we stuck around for so long. We grew from, I think we had a platform turnover about 25 million euro, something like that. Wow. Around 30 employees. So I think there were different stages when we were really small, under 10 people, and then there were things are actually, and that's the case with Hygglo right now. Mm-hmm. So we're a small team, only 7 of us. Mm-hmm. Everyone is super committed to the vision, and the leadership role or skills are not even tested. So it's pretty nice and easy, but you have a really hard time getting the finance that you need, or finding the customers, or get the marketing or product to work, etc. But then when you're above a certain amount of people, then the leadership is starting to be a bit more challenging. And I think that was an interesting and a really good phase for my first startup as well. So we got some testing of our leadership skills, even if we were still just a pretty small company.
I can imagine. But for the scale you mentioned, in 30 people, is actually quite small, won't you say? I mean,
it's still a small company, but then you will actually have a lot of employees that are not only there for the journey or for the vision of the company. So then you would need to work with other tools instead.
Of course.
For motivation and for actually,
Yeah. So from there to Hygglo, what made you focus on this area of interest?
Yeah, I think it was that actually things are not being used. It felt like a bit of a waste. We found some data points of how much staff, mainly Swedes, have at home that they actually never use.
I think worldwide.
Yeah, it's probably worldwide. But
we're all hoarders of stuff we don't use.
And have a lot of storage where we put them in. So we started to find some of these interesting data points, and it felt like this is not the smartest way actually to utilize these things. So should we try building a marketplace around this? I mean, the idea behind Hygglo, it's not actually unique. It's not ours. It's been tested and tried before. And as in many startups, it's a acquisition and timing question. And we thought like, okay, we're pretty good team. We have experience from earlier, and the timing, it doesn't feel completely wrong. If it's the best timing right now, I think that's an impossible question to answer. You can know if the timing is wrong, if it's too late or really too early, but if you're really in the sweet spot, it's hard. The only thing
you don't know whether it's the starting or ending of the
at least we didn't know, and we still don't know how to answer that question. So we decided, let's give it a shot. And I know two-sided platforms or peer-to-peer platforms, they are super complex. So we thought that this will be a challenge as well, hopefully a fun one. And along the journey, I think it's been even more challenging than we thought, or more complex than we actually thought, to get both the demand and the supply side to work on the platform. We knew that one of the sides will always lag behind, but it's been even to get the insight which side is actually lacking, or why, or how. That's super complex. So that's been a fun part of it.
Okay, so tell us about the market a little bit of platform like this, right?
Yeah, so it's a general and pretty broad platform. So we usually say stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not houses and not real estate, but it's more or less anything else. So it could be a boat or a tool or electronics like a drone or a computer. So it's a general and broad platform, and it's a sharing platform. So our users rent out the things they have at home but don't always use, and people can rent from others. And there is a physical meetup. So if you would rent a camera from me, we would meet probably at my house. I will hand over the camera, etc. So geographically it has to be pretty close as well. So the sharing is between two private people.
So that it works out practically for those
in micro geographical areas, like in.
Okay. And about the Swedish market in general, and since you've had so much experience in the past selling the stuff to the market, what makes it, so like you said, it's you think it's the right time, but what makes it, what are those factors which are telling you that this is working?
So one question could be if Sweden is actually a good market for sharing, and that we are not sure that this is like the perfect place for Hygglo. And there are one reason is that we have some lack of financial initiatives. So we're a pretty wealthy country. That could be one reason. We have seen data points from other parts that is a factor to getting sharing to work. And another is that the trust level is not super high among others. Even if crime and other parts are low, still trust is not super high. And on the positive side, we have so in all types of sharing, trust is important. And we have a super easy to use electronic identification system. And that really helps with the trust. So every user is identified. It's a super smooth onboarding, and they both peers know which one, who are they lending their stuff to actually. So
that's a big advantage.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been, due to that, it's been possible to get pretty good insurance connected, etc. So in terms of technical trust, I think Sweden is a really good market, but in terms of culture-wise culture-wise, it's maybe not the best fit. And as we talked about earlier, sharing is needed to be close, and not too many people live in Sweden and actually pretty far from each other.
Yeah, that's true.
So that might be another disadvantage for the market. So, but the main reason we started here anyway, I think it's due to the technical aspects that we talked about, and actually we're Swedes and we live here, and we started in just a small area of Stockholm, and like, okay, let's test it here, super micro, just talk to the neighbors, etc. So I think that's also main reason why we actually founded it in Sweden.
And what is your vision for it becoming big? Like if this starts working at scale, what do you see as your big challenge maybe to scale it up?
So our main vision is to reduce consumption, and to be able to do that, we really need to scale it. And as of now, we're located in Sweden and Norway, and we see that the main factors that drives the platform as of today is environmental or sustainability reasons, and a trend of that people want access and not ownership. But both these trends are pretty early on, so it drives growth, but we haven't really been able to hack that growth yet. So we don't see so much efficiency in our marketing, etc. So fully understanding how could we actually get a higher efficiency in our marketing, or how could we actually hack so we don't just grow with these two trends, that we actually could
you also
grow
build
in a
your
better
own hook.
Yeah, exactly.
Into
So, and that's another. These are details, but they are complex for us. So another thing we have seen, that usually rating, both if they rate the platform or each other or any general feedback that we get on the platform, is usually super positive, and happy users usually mean that they come back, but we don't really see that.
Right.
So they tend to stick in a category. So if they have rented a camera for a wedding, they might think of Hygglo next time they get married or when they get their child, but it's not that often. So, but we can't really get them to think of us when they need a tent for a hiking or a tool for fixing something at home. So they tend to stick in one category, and so even if the usual story is, I really like your idea, it's a super great idea, I will definitely use you guys. They really don't. So it's some sort of gap between intention and action, and trying to close that gap is one of the main areas where we're focusing right now.
Wow. But just to touch upon the point of sustainability, since of course we are here at Norken, and the fact about impact entrepreneurship is this theme. How big is that for your personal motivation for building something like this?
I think it's only been a 3-year journey so far, but at the very start, it was more the feeling of that this is not smart, this is not really a utilized resource, we could do this in a better way. And the sustainability part wasn't that big at that first point, but as soon as you read and you learn more, the interest grows, and as of now, it's like the guiding star or the most important thing, and it's really important for motivation, both for me and the rest of the team as well. So we talk a lot about it, and in our business and the setup we have, we're a profit organization or a company, so we have investors. We have Nordic, who's an impact investor, but we also have other investors that are more of the normal investor types.
Right.
So we aim for profit, but we don't see that as a problem towards our impact. So every transaction that we have on the platform is actually reducing consumption, and the more we could scale that, the better, the more effect we could have on consumption.
So, as a tangential side of this question, when people talk about reducing consumption, they also worry about the economy being affected.
Yeah.
And I'm just taking the example, you were on the other side of commerce.
Yeah.
In that sense, you were getting people to buy more. Now you're getting people to buy less.
Yeah.
So how is that perceived, and how is the market for that in general? Do you see the corporations not trying to promote this, or is there pushback?
No, actually one like unofficial milestone that we have is when we see a debate article or someone try to talk us or sharing down, but as of now they don't see us as a real threat, so we're still too small to be seen as a real threat. So if we would talk to a big reseller of tools, they would say, we would like a meeting, you probably have some interesting insights, let's meet up. So they still think we're this cute new trendy company and not really a threat to them. So that would be actually a milestone when we see a pushback or someone tries to sell the story or tell the story that this is actually bad or insecure or whatever angle they could actually make up.
Right, but I think the sharing economy definitely is a trend which is real now. I mean, maybe it started with Uber, or it started with
exactly
the most common examples that we do, but now it's become.
And the debate has has been around with sharing when it comes to Uber and gig economy platforms, and so far sharing of stuff hasn't been that controversial. So most people are actually they actually see it pretty positive. So we haven't really seen any debates or that anyone thinks that this is super complex or a really bad trend.
Right. As a grand vision, what do you see? How do you see this scaling outside of, let's say, Sweden, and what kind of challenges do you anticipate there? Are cultures different in every country and every kind of cultures? Do you see that as a possibility of something that might?
I think the technology and the platform would probably scale pretty easily and good, but the culture and the sharing being really close or geographically close to one another, that means that we more or less have to move from city or area to area, and that will be challenging. So it's not common that someone rents that comes from Spain or any other country and rents a bike here in Stockholm. It's usually local citizens that share with each other. So that means that we have to more or less move from area to area.
Right.
And I think that will be the challenging part. And then culture will actually be a challenge for us in every step we take. And it's usually not a problem for us when something goes really bad, like someone breaks something that they have rented. We have an insurance, we have routines to handle that, and that would probably be the same way in another country or in another market, so we're not super worried about that. But setting expectations could be a bit harder. Like, okay, if you rent a sanding machine or a sanding tool from me, are you supposed to clean it before you return it? How are you supposed, or with the camera, do you need to tell me as a renter what types of photos you're going to take with it? What are the actual expectations with it, with this transaction? And I think that will become different in different cultures, and we need to handle that differently and help and support that, so the threshold won't be as high. Anyone knows how to go to a store and buy something.
Exactly.
And that transaction looks more or less the same all over the world, but here we need to educate our users how is this transaction being done, and what do you need to do and not do.
So how do you see again, I'm just out of the blue, how do you see the competition with other, not sharing platforms, but like used reselling platforms, like the classifieds or the apps which are just about buying and selling used items?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we see them as a partners we really need. So in a bigger perspective, you could talk about circular economy and not just sharing, and reusing items will be a part of that. And to get people to change their consumer behavior, we need to partner up to be able to do that. And then we need a classified websites. We hopefully can get some wholesale company on board, etc., etc. And if we could talk about the same problem from different angles, I think that will help move the needle. In if we should do it all by ourselves, it will be much harder and takes longer time. So we have a cooperation with the biggest classified website here in Sweden, and we're friends of them.
Okay, awesome.
So, yeah.
All right. As the last shout out, what do you want to tell our listeners? Where to send some feedback? Do you have a Twitter handle or Instagram handle?
We both have. We're on all social platforms. Just check out Hygglo. And it would be interesting. So I know you have listeners all over the world. So it would be interesting to get some feedback just on the name. Yeah. What do they think about it? Do they get any?
What is we should have started with that. What is the?
No, so it's a part of a playing with words. So it means roughly friendly. But it's a slang of being friendly. A Swedish word from the 60s, I think.
Okay. I think it's a cool name.
Yeah.
It's catchy. That's the feedback I got. I mean, when I heard it first, Hygglo, it sounds catchy.
Nice.
Easy to say, easy to remember.
Yeah, but that would be super interesting to get some more feedback on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Ola, thank you so much for doing this. I think it was a great conversation. And of course, if Hygglo comes to other parts of the world, especially like a place like India, again, where sharing different challenges, I think trust is a much bigger challenge of who you don't know. There's more than 1 billion people, so difficult to exactly know who the other person is. But I'm sure globally we will, the theme of sharing will solve for a lot of the things which you're also trying to solve.
Yeah, we have seen that sharing platforms are really scaling in India, for example. So any insights that you might have, or a warm welcome when we're brave enough to make that move.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for the time, and thank you for the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. And if you enjoy listening to content on the IVM Podcast Network, let me tell you about a couple of things that you should check out this week. On the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast, Ashwin, DJ, and Varun deep dive into the first test between India and South Africa. On the Pragati Podcast, Anne Devereux joins Pawan to share how NASA and JPL plan and manage interplanetary missions. On Paperback, Rachita and Satyajit talk to the founder of the Positivity Company, Birender Ahluwalia, about the PERMA formula of happiness and how to be more optimistic. It's a crossover episode on the Empowering series as Ratasha Rathore, host of Agla Station Adulthood, joins Zarina. She talks about body positivity, adulting problems, and why it is important to inculcate self-love. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam is joined by Samant Sikka, Chief Dream Officer at Squirrel. They have an interesting conversation about how his team came up with the name. Thanks, and we hope to see you again soon.
Hi guys, this is Ayushi.
And I am Ritasha.
And welcome to Agla Station Adulthood.
It's a fun podcast we've got going on, and we'd love for you to tune in and enjoy with us.
Join us as we stop at various stations and discuss different topics that seem to be bothering us and hopefully
Dating,
you as well.
relationships, beauty, just being an adult, lots of different things.
We don't have a great grip on it, but we've done okay so far.
Catch Agla Station Adulthood every Thursday on the IVM app, the IVM website, or wherever else you get your podcasts.